Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for January 3rd, 2025. Coming up, Jimmy Butler has lost his joy and the Pacers look much better. Marcus Thompson was at the Warriors-Sixers game, so we talked to him a little bit. And the fan vote for the All-Star game came out. Zena and I don't know, we've got some bones to pick with that list. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Zena. Happy New Year. We're not going to do this longer than this week, so only this one episode. Happy New Year. Zena, did you do anything fun for New Year's?
Absolutely not. Or maybe absolutely yes. I stayed home. I watched Red 1. Guys, wonderful Santa movie that's actually an action movie. It was great. I clapped at the end. I was very impressed.
You clapped at the end?
With the creativity. Wow. It was adorable.
It's like a flight in Europe for you.
No,
they landed the plane safely and you're just like
to clap on airplanes.
Happy to be here. Hey, you know what? You got to take some joy in those landings, especially after,
Yeah, that's true.
Last few weeks. Anyway, busy night last night in the NBA, as the Mondays have tended to be. And we got to start with the Heat and Pacers, because this game, number one, there a couple things happened there. Tyrese Haliburton might just be back. The Pacers handled the Heat with no problem. And Tyrese Haliburton is a big reason why. This is now a few good games in a row for him. I mean, he seems like the Pacers, they find their footing when he plays well. Another good game for him.
Now, Tyrese Haliburton, we can't say might be back. Like, he's absolutely back. Particularly, November was a good month for him. But in December, he's shooting 10% better from the three. He's shooting way better from the floor. And also, his assists are up. He averaged almost 10 assists per game in the month of December. Already, yes, it's been a few games in January, but already at 15 assists per game because he's just dishing them out as soon as he gets the ball. I'm loving the fact that he's back in his element. A lot of people had some questions after the Olympics of like, this guy was on the team. Like, was he one of those guys that got an A on the group project and didn't contribute? He even said that about himself, right? Yeah. But now you're starting to see this is why they put him in a Team USA jersey. He has been contributing. The Pacers are 7-3 in their last 10 games. All right. Yes, he's on the map.
This is more what we expected from the Pacers.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know what anyone expected from the Miami Heat this year. I don't know what anyone has expected from Jimmy Butler this year, but this is playing out very similarly to the last few stops for Jimmy, whether that was Philadelphia or Minnesota or Chicago. This is a couple of really weird games in a row for Jimmy Butler. He only took 5 shots the other night in a loss. And in this game, Zena, how many shots do you think Jimmy Butler took?
6.
Yeah, exactly. 6 shots in the game for 9 points. He was minus 27 in 27 minutes. And Zena, when I tell you it looked like he was minus 50, that's the eye test. He just wasn't Jimmy Butler. This is a little bit of quiet quitting, it feels like. And again, his comments after the game, he said he has no joy. He was asked, is it possible for him to find it in Miami? He said, probably not.
Yeah.
This is coming to a head now.
Now, I'm going to give him a little bit of grace. He had a stomach illness. He's missed 5 games. His last game was his first game back after missing 5 games consecutively. And it was clear December 20th when he came back that he was still kind of dealing with whatever it was. His team put him down as return to competition conditioning. And as a person that remembered what conditioning felt like after Christmas break, you're not going to immediately get back into it and feel up to date. So I'll give him a little bit of grace on that. He also said in his post-game press conference that he doesn't want anyone believing that, yes, even though he's putting up a lower volume of shots, that this indicates that he is not playing hard. He said, basically miss me with that. Like, that's not the truth and that's not the case. I can imagine that is hard to believe, especially considering the turmoil around him, this narrative around him that he wants out of Miami, as you mentioned, saying to reporters that he wants to be anywhere, essentially, than Miami. So it's tough, but let's be real. Him playing poorly is not going to help him in his case to get out of Miami.
Right, that's my thing.
So he's got to pick it up some way, somehow. And I think that once he gets back to his conditioning level, and also now that this story is out there, I'm sure a lot more eyeballs are going to be out there, and I'm sure a lot more conditioning is going to be happening for Jimmy Butler.
I hope so. I like Jimmy Butler when he's playing good basketball. Speaking of good basketball, we had a marquee matchup. Wolves and Celtics, big game in Minnesota. The Celtics, we've been talking about them the last couple of weeks. Like, what's going on with them? Are they struggling? Have Mazzulla ball been figured out? And you know what, Zena, I would say we got mixed returns on Mazzulla ball. But when you look at what the Celtics did, winning 118-115, only 4 turnovers. One of them was a team turnover.
Yeah.
And only 6 free throws. So I got to tell you, it's honorable basketball. It's clean basketball. And these guys just, when they're able to just flip that switch where they protect the basketball, they're hard to stop. The best guy for them in this game is their MVP candidate, Jason Tatum. We had the big head-to-head matchup between him and Anthony Edwards. Who won that matchup?
Now, Dave. Come on now. Jason Tatum,
rough game
clearly. Yeah, it was a rough game for Ant. But yeah, Jason Tatum, let's start with the Celtics. Mazzulla ball. You can play Mazzulla ball when you shoot like you do. It's unreal. I mean, yes, Jason Tatum killed it, but his supporting cast between Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, I mean, everyone was just putting up numbers. I just recently found out that Sam Hauser going into the game against the Wolves was 4th in the NBA in 3-point percentage. You want to guess who was the top 2 and then number 3?
I think, is Taurean Prince up there?
No. So number 3 was Sam Hauser's teammate, Luke Kennard.
Okay.
And then number 1 and 2 are the Curry brothers. Like, when you've got that level of shooting on your team, just casually sitting around, right? And this is coming off the bench. This is what Mazzulla's working with. Of course, it makes sense to just keep putting the ball up from outside the arc. Now, on the other end of the things, the Wolves, they don't quite have the same level of shooting. And that first quarter, they try to disprove that, right? The amount of shots, how many threes were put up in the first quarter?
You know what? I honestly lost count, but in the game, I mean, we had like 26 3-point attempts in the first 9 minutes, and it came hot on the heels of Shaquille O'Neal in the Inside NBA crew, which I don't often catch, complaining that Anthony Edwards had regressed because he was shooting more threes. Now, look, if you only watch this one game, you might think Shaq was right, because Ant did have a bad time. He was 2 of 9 from 3, 5 of 16 from overall. And like, if the narrative is he's shooting more 3s than 2s, and those are bad looks, great. Look, he missed some 3s. This guy is one of the better 3-point volume shooters in the NBA. One of the reasons why he has to do it is because of the lack of spacing. But in this game, the Boston Celtics did a great job of frustrating Ant, which he talked about after the game, said the double teams just threw him out of whack. He doesn't know how to contribute, and that's not the way he wants to play.
Right.
Great. Ant's got to figure out a way to let the game come to him, and this would have been a perfect time because the guys we've been talking about struggling showed up. Zena, Randall, DiVincenzo, Jaden McDaniels, all
Alexander
had great nights.
Walker, Breed. I mean, Breed hasn't really been struggling, but yes, the entire roster outside of Anthony Edwards was able to get their shot off, whether it was through their self-creation, whether it was dribble, drive, and kick out. There was production overall, but Anthony Edwards was doubled. I mean, Joe Mazzulla and crew, they played that amazingly. Jason Tatum continued to find another Boston Celtics teammate to trap around Anthony Edwards, leaving Julius Randle to do whatever he was doing in the post, figuring out shots in the corner, which was wonderful for the other players, but it is not good when your star player, Anthony Edwards, is saying, it is hard for me to stay engaged because I'm passing the ball and having to retreat to the corner or having to figure out what to do when I don't have the ball in my hands. Him saying that out loud is one thing. And then another thing to be able to see it on the film. That's the entire league be able to see like, oh, okay, that's the game plan. Double Anthony Edwards and force the rest of the Timberwolves to figure it out on their own. Luckily in this game, they were able to do it for a long time, but you're going up against the Celtics, so that's tough. But there are other teams out there that can figure out this double team.
And should just get Devin Booker on the phone, see how he learned to deal with those double teams playing off the ball.
He could call any of his Olympics teammates.
That's right. I mean, the off-ball stuff for him is good. Quickly, before we have to go to break, the Nets just seem to have the Bucks number, moved to 3-1 on the season in the season series. Jordy Fernandez maybe knows something about the Bucks that the rest of us don't. The Bucks went on a 20-0 run and came up one missed layup by Damian Lillard with a couple seconds left from taking a lead in this game. What's the secret for Brooklyn?
You said Jordi Fernandez knows something about the Bucks that the rest of the league doesn't. I also think that Jordi Fernandez has something with the Nets that the rest of the league doesn't, and that's Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas has been a factor in every single one of these games against the Bucks, and particularly he's just been cooking since he came back, period.
Yeah.
He is so frenetic in the paint, the way that he goes at the perimeter defense of the Bucks, who, let's be real, unless they have Andre Jackson Jr. out there or Ryan Rollins out there, a little bit slower, a little bit less of a first step than a Cam Thomas, he can get in the paint and he can put a shot up. And most importantly, he can get fouled. He can lure Brook Lopez out. He can do the things necessary to get his body into defenders. And that's what the Bucks have not been able to handle.
Cam Thomas also has the ultimate green light. There's no shot that he's scared of. He caught an offensive rebound at the free throw line and basically turned it into a catch and shoot free throw jumper. And it was amazing. I love watching this guy play. Also, and there's just a throwaway here at the end before we go to the break. The Thunder won their 13th straight game. They are just absolutely crushing everyone. They were down as much as 16 to the Clippers, but they had a third quarter run, Zena, thanks to 17 points to the Clippers 0 off of turnovers only, the most destructive. We're not going to say disruptive. Destructive. That's a great defense in the NBA right now is the Thunder.
It is scary. I've always said this. I've said this about Ja Morant. I've said this about any real big, like Steph Curry. You could say this about any big time NBA player. Anytime a player is smiling as they go to the bench or if they're going down the court, it's scary. You know what's scary about OKC? They do it as a collective. It was defense to offense, their perimeter defense, their activity, hands and everything, just being able to turn the ball over for the Clips over and over again and then immediately score. And they're laughing. The bench is laughing. They're smiling down the court. Isaiah Hartenstein is getting dunks coming off of an assist from Jalen Williams, and they're smiling. They're laughing. They're tapping each other up. This team has everything it takes to win big, to play a long season, and it comes down to the fact that they do it as a team.
Yeah. Guys, stick around. We got Marcus Thompson coming up next. The Warriors have been struggling for a little bit the last few weeks. They hadn't won 2 straight in like a month and a half or something. So, they had the Sixers in town. We figured something's going to happen in the game. Let's get Marcus Thompson on. He's going to be in the building. Marcus, thanks for joining us. Happy New Year. We just went through the whole rigmarole on how long to say that, but Happy New Year to you. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, today's the 2nd. I'm giving you to the 5th. Then there's no more happy.
There it is.
Like either got off to a great start or it didn't. That's on you at that point.
Well, hey, look, the Warriors got off to a great start in this game. They jumped out to a huge lead, 35-19. Steph Curry hits that opening 3 and then didn't miss for the whole game, 8 of 8 from 3. How long can Steph do this, man? Like, it's 30 points, it's plus 32 in 30 minutes. Just won this one going away, and Steph looked incredible.
I mean, if he's making shots, he's fine, right? That's basically the Warriors. They won. They looked great because other people made threes. Steph made threes. I mean, to me, the baseline is Steph's got to get 30. Like, that's where it begins. And it's a little harder to get 30 at 36 and with the cast he's got around him. So it's tougher. But this is how it looked when they were 12-3. Everybody was making shots. It was great. It was kumbaya. People were sea walking at Chase Center, like it was all good, right? That's how it was going down. So they've been so rough offensively that you knew one of these days was coming. Like eventually they would catch them, and Philly's D kind of helped them get there. So I think it's a one-off, right? I think it's a one-off.
Well, you talk about the supporting cast. I think it was exciting to see Dennis Schroeder hit some shots. That's a big factor that he was able to get some offense going within what the Warriors do in the movement of the ball, rather than having to set up half court sets, pick and roll, sticking to the ball. Like, what'd you make of Schroeder's game tonight?
It was massive, right? They've been waiting for this. The funny part is Dennis Schroeder absolutely cooks the Warriors, right? He's been cooking the Warriors for years. So when he showed up, they were like happy to get him. But this wasn't Germany's Dennis Schroeder, right? This wasn't the Dennis Schroeder who's been cooking him. He's been struggling offensively. His shot wasn't there. And obviously that's acceptable, right? It's fine.
Sure. You're adjusting.
To a new team. He's learning offense. That was understandable, so to speak. But they did get him because they needed buckets. So he's kind of got to get buckets. It's kind of important. And tonight he was a bucket getter. Like he made his open threes. He drove. He penetrated. They just need it so badly. So, I mean, you could just see how much of a relief it was that Dennis Schroeder was producing. Like, it was massive boon to the offense. When he's going well, it matters a lot.
It opened up so much inside for them. I mean, even Trace Jackson Davis had an easier time, I thought, getting some lob opportunities, which weren't happening before when Schroeder was out there. And then Schroeder got blocked by Tyrese Maxey on the rear view block and then gets his own rebound and sticks a mid-ranger. That to me is a pretty good sign when it comes to confidence with him. But I want to talk about Jonathan Kuminga because he's been maybe a little bit lost in the shuffle with the month that he just had. I know that that's a funny thing to say, but 20 off the bench. And I mean, just he stuck a couple threes. He just like looks pretty solid out there. Is he going to be able to grow more into the second scoring option that we keep talking about that this team needs? I know Schroeder is going to fill the void a little bit, but Kuminga's just been really good.
Man, Kuminga's the second best scorer on this team. I'm hesitant to put him over Wiggins, but because Wiggins just been doing it for like a decade, right? That's the only advantage. But Kuminga's ability to get downhill, to draw fouls and get to the line. I mean, he's developed this like inside out dribble that when it works, it's like some straight old school hot sauce type move. Like he's ready to go crazy when he does it. And his three ball is better than people would think it is, right? You would think, I mean, he could dent a couple backboards if you get him, you get him on a bad night. But his actual percentage, especially when he takes good shots, is good. I mean, I just think they've gotten to a point where you just looking on the roster like, yo, who can go get 20 when I want to? Like, I don't care who you got. Let me go get 20. Who is that? Kuminga's one of them dudes. Now, it might not be how the Warriors like him to do it. Like, it's not based on passing and cutting and all that. But if you just say, hey, Kuminga, go get 20, like, I trust him to go do it a little bit more than just about anybody else on the team.
Also had 5 assists, by the way, in this game, which that's not something that you count on from him. So, maybe the game's growing here, Marcus, as the responsibility is growing.
Whoa, the game is slowing down.
I mean, young players do get better.
And experience and freedom makes you grow. No way. Who would have thought?
No, it's clear that he's like adjusting to the game. The game's slowing down for him. Like that all makes sense. Now,
let me leave Steve Kerr alone on that one. My fault.
Right. That's a whole nother thing. But I know we just kind of slightly touched on Trayce Jackson Davis. He's been exciting. I think his ability to just grow in aggression and overall, I mean, he has now dunked on Rudy. He's dunked on Wemby. He dunked on Joel Embiid last night.
Yeah.
What?
He banged on Embiid, though.
He did. He banged
really
on him,
did.
right? I want to see this like young man just grow into his game, and he's so respectful about it. Even how he came down after Embiid, he kind of just looked at him, looked at the bench, and went right back down the court. He doesn't do too much. Like, what do you think is the growth potential here for Trayce Jackson Davis within the Warriors?
Listen, Zena, I need Trace in 3 years to walk to this thing with a sequin shirt and sunglasses. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need him to get to that level where he's like, can't nobody see me, right? I need him walking in with 5 women, right? Like, and a trench coat.
It's a family show, Marcus.
On that note, though, guys, if you haven't checked out Jonathan Kuminga's last Instagram post, go do it. The yellow suit is fire. Pictures in the passenger seat of cars.
Okay, yeah, so you need Trace. He needs more swag.
I need Trace to get to that level. Like this, he is the perfect, like, it's going to be the perfect, like, story arc of the humble, shy guy who comes in, doesn't want to ruffle anybody's feathers, dump on a few people, and next thing you know, like, it don't stink no more, right? Like, you like, hey, I'm that dude. So, they've been trying to get this out of him, like this aggression, a bit of anger. Like, they've been trying to, like, get that out of him because he just plays better. He doesn't catch the ball cleanly all the time, but when he just catches it and grows up strong, like, they just don't have it. And that's one of the things, the reason it stands out. They just don't have dudes like this on the team who will go up and dunk it, right? So, I do think if he can do that consistently, this league needs people who can finish inside. Like it's paramount. And if he can do it, I actually I actually like Kuminga as a solid NBA role player. You know, the crazy part is his dad is Dale Davis. Like, he needs to tap into you know what I'm saying? Tap into Pops. Pops will knock a dude out in these streets. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
By the way, when he after he caught Embiid, you notice, I know you're in the arena and sometimes these things are a little bit subtle, you know, depending on where you're sitting, although you probably got the good seats. Embiid starts playing with the mask. Oh no, I can't quite see. I gotta put the mask up.
I missed that.
I think it got to him a little bit, but let's swing to the Sixers side of this because Marcus, you know, you cover the whole league, man. How did Embiid look? I mean, we can look at the stats and say 28 points, 14 rebounds. Oh, okay, looks like he got to the free throw line 14 times, which of course is important for him. But how do you think he looked physically in the game?
I mean, he looked like Embiid, right? He looked slow, but he looked like he could move when he wanted to. To me, the biggest issue with Embiid physically was defensive. Like, they just pull him out of the paint. Like, it's a wrap. That's just where he is. He looks like the same Embiid he's looked like for the last couple of years, where mobility is going to be an issue. He has actually a pretty good first step for a dude with like a transformer knee, but it feels like he can like he was catching guys off guard. He was drawing fouls just with the quick sudden movement, the spin back. But you just don't see any of that on defense. I think that was one of the big problems tonight. Like, defensively, he's just not the force he used to be. And I do feel like that's a matter of physical, because you can just pull him out the paint. That's pretty much it. If he's at the rim and you go there, he'll block it. But like, you can work around it in that sense, because you can see he's saving kind of his eggs for the offensive end.
Well, that's how you get the MVP.
Yeah. Y'all are silly. There were so many plays that Joel Embiid was just out of position defensively, like not in help, not hugged up on his man, not in a lane, just like floating around, not doing what he was supposed to do. And I felt like that kind of had a ripple effect for the rest of the defense. But speaking of people that aren't necessarily always in the right position or may not be the right fit even, Paul George.
What a setup.
What a setup, right? I mean, I look at this Paul George, like this has been the talk of this team since he returned from his injuries. Does he make sense on this team? You've now seen him over the course of this season. I would be very curious, Marcus, what you think about Paul George's fit with the Sixers.
Yeah, I don't think it fits. I really like Paul George. He's one of my favorite players to watch, because when he's playing both ends, like, he's actually really good. But it's just, I remember the Paul
that played against the Warriors with the Clippers.
With the Clippers, yeah.
Right?
I loved watching him guard Clay. I'm like, just the way he gets into you, like, he's, to me, engaging on both ends of the court in a way that is appealing. I think, like, aesthetically, he's a pleasing basketball player to watch. But they just got too many dudes who need the rock. It just doesn't work. He's not really an off-ball player. You would think as an older player, like, he would spot up more, but it's a lot of ISO. It's a lot of ball pounding. And even the French guy, the big guy, like, he's another one. That's like 4 dudes.
Yabusele.
That's like 4 dudes who are like, give me the ball. I mean, they're all very cookie monstering with the rock, right? It's just like, give it to me and I'm going, and that's it. So I don't know if he fits that way. It's surprising to see a Nick Nurse offense look this predictable and kind of rudimentary. But I just think it's a product of having so many guys who just have to get 7 dribbles before they get a shot off. I don't think it's a good fit at all, actually.
Yeah, as long as he's Cookie Monster and not Bert playing basketball in somebody's bed or something like
you could have just let it go right there.
I know, I could have. Listen, I'm reaching a little bit. Let's talk about the Sixers.
That's a bad New Year start right there.
It's a terrible one. All right, so the Sixers have been a little bit better here recently since the awful start, right? And when you've seen them without, with all their guys, and which has been, few and far between the number of games they have all their guys, there are parts of this that look okay. And I just wonder, Marcus, from your perspective, if they don't make a trade, like, is this a team that anybody in the East, and let's just say they go into the playoffs perfectly healthy, they're in the top 6, or, this isn't a playoff or a play-in team. Is this a team that you think anyone in any of the contenders in the East are scared of at all?
I think on a one-off tip, I do think so, because you know why? They play defense. They can play defense. Mm-hmm. Like, when they get it together, they could lock in. I don't think they do it all the time, but they can lock in. If you just look at the pieces, they got a ball pressure and Maxey. I still think Paul George can guard. Caleb Martin, he's not like a lockdown guy, but he can get into you and they can just make you uncomfortable. They don't really have the depth to keep it up, but if you can be good enough to get to the end of the game, this is what Philly set up for. At the end of a playoff series, you got a bunch of dudes who go get a shot. Like, let's play off basketball.
That's
so
a good point.
I don't think they'd be a threat to win 3 series, but I think they can win 1, right? I do think
it's gonna be a matchup, right?
Yeah, they can exhaust. It would take everything they got. They could upset a team, and then they get cooked the next round, right? Like, that's probably how it'll go, just because I don't think Embiid's knees and body will hold up. But I do feel like it's a team that is a little bit problematic enough that you probably rather see another team than them, because I do think they can upset somebody, but they can also lose, in the gentleman's sweep too. Like,
yeah, or maybe they're playing and they lose to the Chicago Bulls or something weird like that happens. I don't know.
They have to be Christmas Day 76ers.
That's it.
The team that beat the Celtics. Like, that's the level that they've got to be able to output.
They can. And they have that little. Yeah, it's not a switch for them though. They've got to figure out some consistency. Marcus, what are you working on? What's coming up next at The Athletic?
So unlike you, my new year has not been off to a good start. So I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like finding my way. I'm going to let the new year wind take me where it goes. Right now, I'm going to go figure out a way to write about Steph Curry, because that's usually the good way to spend my time, right? It's to write about Steph Curry, right? But you might be seeing something about Jimmy Butler coming.
Yeah, well, okay. Everybody look out for that over at The Athletic. Guys, stick around after the break. Zena and I are going to talk about the All-Star fan vote and some of the surprising names on that list. When it comes time to choose the All-Stars, the fan vote counts for 50% of the total to get these guys to the All-Star game. So we get the updates from the NBA, and we just got our first fan vote update. Guess who's the leader in fan voting right now, Zena?
Nikola Jokic.
It is very close, but no, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo leading the NBA in fan vote, which I am surprised by. Guys, LeBron James, what he's doing at 40 years old is kind of incredible. Lakers fans, you guys need to get those fake email accounts. I mean, your iPhone makes it so easy with the hide my email. Get in there. LeBron should be winning this vote right now. I'm so flustered. I can't even get the word out.
Listen, Giannis has all of Greece backing him right now. Probably
Greece
the rest
is a small
of Europe
country.
as well.
I don't want to hear that.
Guess what? They're using VPNs. They're doing whatever they need to do.
Laker Nation is bigger than Greece. That's all I got to say about it. They've got fans everywhere. What's your biggest surprise when you're looking at this list? I mean, Nikola Jokic, like I said, second. Jason Tatum is third in voting. Kevin Durant fourth. And then you've got LeBron in fifth. What stands out to you about this?
I am shocked. I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm shocked how much the fans have not put enough onus on winning. And I say that, and I'm looking at this list, and I see Donovan Mitchell at number 2 under the guards, but I'm like, where's Darius Garland at all on this list? And I'm also wondering, Evan Mobley being so low and no Jared Allen. So I'm just looking at Cleveland being this like juggernaut going through the NBA, and the fans being like, hey, let's get some of these guys who haven't been All-Stars yet. Let's get them up on the list here. And no love.
I think Cleveland is a team that should be looking at least 3 All-Stars and maybe 4. And so they'll get coaches selections.
But what about you? What's your surprise? Well,
to me, look, I mean, I actually have a couple. Number 1, Steph Curry is too low. My guys are too low. The old guys too low.
The Philippines, you guys got to wake it up. They're usually the ones that help the voting.
having LaMelo Ball second in fan voting amongst guards is eye-opening and shocking. And to your point about winning, he plays for the Charlotte Hornets. Now, listen, he is fun. He is a lot of fun. And he's the perfect guy to get into an all-star environment. And I think he's had a great season. That is shocking to me. So, guys, shoot us your emails over at NBADaily@theathletic.com. Send us your comments, your questions. Let us know who was left off the fan vote, or if the fans are not really watching the games. I don't know what they're doing, how they're voting. Also, you know what? A little bit surprised that Grizzlies didn't get a Japan bump. Just
great point.
I don't know. We got to get
the
this
rest of
market.
The world's got to come in here.
Come on, guys. We got to get this vote going. That's right. That's going to do it for us this week. Very short week for us. Thank goodness. Don't forget, we got Slam and Jam coming up tomorrow. They're going to be talking about the Hornets. For Zena, Keita, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us. Happy New Year.